Hello, and welcome to chapel. Chapel time with Mr. Rude and
Mrs. Howarth.
Mrs. Brower.
Miss Ackerman.
Miss Poole.
Mrs. Strauber.
Miss Fletcher.
Hi, kids. So this month, the chapel challenge, the quest, was about courage and boldness. So I wanted to start by reading a verse. This comes from Ezra chapter 10, verse 4. Ezra at the time is the priest for the Israelites, and they're trying to rebuild the temple. And so a group of people approach him, and this is what they tell him. They say, "Rise up, take action. This matter is in your hands. We will support you. So take courage and do it." I liked this verse because it doesn't just say be brave. It says this is your responsibility and there's some action that goes with it. You need to do something with your courage. This month, our challenge for teachers was to lead by example and for us to be courageous in some way, to think of something that maybe scares us and then try and do it anyway. I asked the fifth graders for some help with it because I was having a hard time coming up with something that I could do that was brave. You know, as an adult, it's hard to figure out something that you don't already do. It's hard to get out of your comfort zone, which is exactly what, the whole challenge was about, is for us to move past what we're used to doing and do something different and new. I had a lot of really good answers from the fifth graders. They wanted me to go on a roller coaster or to climb a really high tower, to jump off of a rock into a lake. They had all these, great ideas. And we kind of talked about our courage needs to help somebody in some way, that we are standing up and being bold and being courageous in order to set an example and to help someone. They thought it would be a really good idea for me to get up on the roof and get all the balls off for them. And, that's a great idea. Mr. Dukes beat me to it. What I decided to do instead was something I hate doing. I've done it before in my life several times, but I hate it. I gave blood. And that's not something as kids, you guys don't do that, but adults do. And giving blood is a really important thing that, we're not obligated to do, but we're asked to do it. It saves lives. And it's so easy. It's so easy, and it doesn't take that much time. 20 minutes. You go in, you answer some questions, they take your blood, you eat a cookie and some juice, and you go home. And so that's what I did yesterday after school. I went in, I answered the questions, I donated some blood, I ate a cookie, and I didn't quite get to go home. I had to stay a little bit longer. You guys can ask me about that later. But it wasn't so hard, and it was honestly one of the best experiences I've ever had because God gave me the opportunity to face some fears. Face the fear of, what happens if I pass out? I faced that fear, so it was a good experience overall. So I appreciate that was something we got to do this month. For my kids who showed boldness and courage in fifth grade, I've got 3 of them. So for my 3 girls this month who are courageous and who are bold and who are not afraid of taking risks and answering questions and not afraid of, speaking out for what they believe in. So Violet, congratulations. Peyton and Charlie, congratulations, you guys, for being bold and courageous.
Hi, guys. So, I don't know if you know, but Columbia Christian right now is putting on a fundraiser, and it's a virtual run walk. Well, I've gone on lots of walks. I've gone on lots of stair walks with my kids, but I haven't really tested myself to see what I can do. So I decided my courageous thing that I would do in the month of April was to sign up for this virtual 5K fundraiser for Columbia, and I wanted to see how far I could make it on my own. So I actually went on a 4.5-mile hike over the weekend, Saturday morning, and I went on a stair walk. There were over 480 steps that were stairs, very steep, scary stairs, kind of some scary pathways through the woods. I didn't really know what I might face, but I felt so good when I completed that. I feel like I'm making a healthy choice for my body. I'm making a healthy choice for my own children and my students to see that, I was kind of scared. I didn't know if I could do it, but I did it. So I just encourage you to try. Step out and try. See what you can do, because you could do more than you know. And so in first grade, some of my students, I picked 2 students this month that have shown boldness and courage, And when I think of that, I think, oh, I'm really bold and brave and courageous, and I'm not afraid to speak out. So sometimes that helps people make friends really easily. So the two boys that I thought of are both really good at making friends really easily. And also, sometimes it takes courage to just wait sometimes for the right moment to say something. And I think Cameron and Gabriel in first grade both show those qualities. So congratulations, guys. You rock.
Hi, everybody. So my challenge also has to do with my health. Last year, right after COVID started, I'd had a bad cold, and after that cold was over, I noticed that sometimes when I exercised, I was really out of breath. And so I talked to my doctor about it, and she gave me an inhaler kind of thing, and I thought that that would eventually, take care of it. Well, time went on, and I think just because it was COVID, and I just kept putting it off. But the other day, I finally was brave. I think maybe there was a little fear in me that if it wasn't the inhaler wasn't going to help it, then it must have been something worse wrong with me. And so I took a long time. A year is a long time to really do something about that. So I did tell my doctor, and she ordered a test to see what my heart was doing. And that's kind of scary when you think about your heart. The heart is a major organ in your body. And so last week, I had to go in and have this thing they call a stress test. And they pushed me, and they found some things out about my heart. And now I feel more relieved because the doctor tells me that we can just adjust my medicine, and I should start feeling better eventually. So that's kind of my example of how I took some courage and got something done, because I need to be healthy for me, not only for me, but I need to be healthy for my family, and I need to be healthy for my students. So that's my example. My kiddos that I want to recognize this month, they kind of have some characteristics in common. That's why I decided these 3 students should be given this award and recognized for this courage and boldness kind of attitude. These students have a naturally inquisitive spirit about them. They have things to say and questions to ask, and they are not timid about doing that. And for the most part, they're pretty responsible with how they do that. They also, when there's a challenge, something they haven't done yet, they don't shy away from it and say, I can't do this, I don't know what I'm doing. No, they give it their best. If they make a mistake, then they ask for help. And I think that's bold when we realize that sometimes we don't do everything right and we need help. And then finally, these 3 students are new to our school. And I was just very amazed and impressed with that all of them had new friends within just a few days. They were not shy, they wanted relationship, and they have just melded into our classroom very nicely. And so thank you, Chloe and Sasha and Andrew, for showing us boldness.
This month, our challenge was focused on courage. Sometimes we tend to think of people being courageous when they face a big challenge or something very scary. However, courage is more than just being willing to take risks or tackle something very difficult. Courage is being willing to trust in God, trusting Him to strengthen you when you face something challenging, trusting Him to provide for what you need. trusting Him to guide you on the right path, trusting Him to take care of your worries and fears. Sometimes we get caught up in worrying about, how am I going to get all this finished? Or what's going to happen tomorrow? Or we focus on the what if. Sometimes we like to play the what if game. What if I don't get it all done? What if I can't fall asleep? What if, what if, what if? When Mrs. Howarth challenged the teachers to share about how they showed courage this month, my mind first went to trying to figure out, what fears do I have? What is something big I could tackle to do or do to show courage? As I thought about it and struggled to figure out what I was going to do or share, I realized courage goes beyond just one moment in time when you challenge yourself to do something hard. Courage is something we work on every day as we learn to trust God to strengthen, guide, and take care of us each day without worrying about the what-ifs or the things that don't go the way we planned, or give whatever other fears and worries we have over to Him and wait on Him. Sometimes waiting is hard. Psalm 27:14 says, "Wait for the Lord. Be strong and let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord." God's timing does not always match ours, but when we wait for Him to guide us, take care of us, we are able to be filled with courage. While this might sometimes be more difficult to observe or recognize in people, I want to give you some examples that I can see even just from my own experience. Sometimes it's pausing during the middle of the day to pray about things that are on my mind, seeing somebody that needs help in that moment, and being willing to say, "They're yours, God. I give them to you." For me, leading and speaking in front of other people isn't always easy. It's something that I've learned to do, but if you asked my parents, back in kindergarten, I was the child that was crying as I pulled off of my parents' leg and clung onto my teacher's leg. But here I am today, speaking in front of others, and I've learned to do that over time. It wasn't just a one-day thing. Even sometimes it can be as simple as going on a trip when you know that maybe you have motion sickness or other things like that. It can be in little things. And now I want to share with you the second grade award winners for this month. The first one I want to recognize is someone who's willing to take risks in their learning. They're not afraid to ask for help when they need it. Sometimes we want to just pretend like we know everything and we don't want to ask for help. And this person's also just willing to take risks in a lot of areas. They're not afraid to try something new, and that's Samuel. The second person I want to recognize this month is someone that's new to Columbia, and starting a new school can be kind of scary and making new friends. But this person just jumped right in, began forming friendships, and that's Ryder. So congratulations to Ryder. And the third person I want to recognize this month is someone that's not afraid to stand their ground and to speak their mind, and that's Jacob. So congratulations to Samuel, Ryder, and Jacob for earning the award for being courageous this month.
Hello, Columbia Christian. Courage can be defined as choosing to bravely do what is right, even if you are afraid. It can also be defined as the ability to do something that frightens you. Deuteronomy 31, verse 6 says, "Be strong and of good courage. Do not fear, nor be afraid of them. For the Lord your God, He is the one who goes with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you." When I think back to times that I have been courageous, I'm reminded of times I have followed where the Lord was leading me. And let me tell you, I was so nervous about it, but I knew that I had to walk in faith courageously because I knew that listening to God was the right thing to do. I knew that God would not leave me or forsake me. Being courageous is hard. Oftentimes, courage requires not being in control, and for those that like structure or stability, like me, it can be really difficult. But God asks us to not be afraid and to lean into Him during those hard times. Now, courage usually looks a lot like boldness in a school environment because I'm not often asking students to showcase their courage or do things that scare them. But I was looking for students who are bold in their faith, bold in the way that they stand up for others, and bold in the way that they are confident in themselves and in who God created them to be. So some students that I thought of in our third grade class that exemplify boldness or courage are Wesley, Theo, and Josiah. These students are courageous or bold. They choose to do what is right even when it is hard. They tell their peers about Jesus and they look out for others. They also celebrate the qualities that God has given them and are boldly confident in some of the skills that God has given them, whether that be their abilities in math, reading, or even Foursquare. Wesley, Theo, and Josiah, thank you for being bold, just as God created you to be.
Hello. I wanted to talk this time about what it means to be courageous. Did you know that courage is the ability to do something difficult even when it's not easy? Does that make sense? Courageous people do what is right even if something else is opposing them. Also, when you try new things or admit when you're wrong, those also take courage. You can build courage as you grow up. You don't have to have it all when you're young either. Sometimes when you're young, kids like to build courage by being bold and testing themselves to see if they can do something that they're maybe scared of. And some kids maybe like to do it a little more slowly, test it out a little bit, see if it works, step back a little bit and try it again. Both of those ways are okay. One of the most important things I want you to know about courage is that it doesn't always feel like courage. From the outside, you might think that courage is impressive or powerful, but on the inside, it can feel a little bit scary and even unpredictable. You might not know how it's going to end. And that's because courage and fear usually go together, and that's how it is. It's not something that should there's nothing wrong with it. I also wanted to tell you that courage isn't about something magical happening inside us to make us not scared. It's more about something inside of us that pushes us just past the fear long enough to be brave. Okay, so this month in kindergarten, I would like to honor a student who has shown courage. Nathan is my kindergartner, and he shows me that he can be brave and courageous when he tries new snacks or when he figures out a new way to do a problem. In kindergarten, that's what it's all about. So many new adventures, and so being courageous is really important. Nathan is quiet and observant, which I appreciate, and he's ready to take off. He's like right at that launching pad, ready to go on some things because of his courage. So thank you, Nathan, for being courageous and for working hard on just growing. I would also like to honor Sophia this month for showing courage in class. Sophia has a very strong sense of what is right and wrong, and she's always patient until she figures out which is which. Sometimes her classmates might not know the difference as easily, so she'll sit back and observe until she figures it out, and then she consistently does it. That's courage, because sometimes it might feel easier to follow the crowd. So I'm thankful for Sophia's internal compass. That's a way to point you in the right direction, just built inside that God gave her, and how it shines through her choices. Now, you know, this month you have a chapel challenge. Guess what? The teachers have a challenge too. Did you know that? So this month, Mrs. Howarth was thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking some more about what I could do to accept the challenge. So let me tell you a little story. When I was in elementary school, I loved going to the library to check out books. It was one of my favorite things to do. I memorized the authors and where the books were on the shelves, even how to find a book that I had never read before. So when I got a little older in high school, I had to write a story, a short story. And it was kind of hard, but it was super fun. And guess what? I realized when I wrote that story that I actually have a bigger story that I haven't gotten to share yet. Well, the reason why is because when I was young, I grew up with my grandparents. They were like my family. I lived at their house, and that's where I always called home. And so growing up with my grandparents is something different that some kids don't get to do. And I want to share that story. So I thought, oh, maybe I should write a book about that, because I always love to read. Maybe other kids would like to read my story too. But many years have passed since high school, and I haven't done it yet. So I thought, oh, maybe this is a prompting from the Lord that I should maybe think again about that. I was recently back in my hometown with some of my family and was reminded of some of the sweet things that I learned from my grandparents. So that's what I'm going to do, guys. By the end of the month, I'm going to sit down and start writing my picture book about growing up with my grandparents. I'll let you know how it goes next month, okay? Okay, so thank you for supporting all the teachers as we do something courageous, and thank you for doing something courageous too.
Have you found yourself in a position where some people think you're brave, but you don't think you're brave? Well, that's me right now. I don't feel unsafe or scared when I'm up on a ladder this high, but obviously I am in a kind of a dangerous situation, but I feel like I'm safe. I have my two hands on the ladder, and both my feet are on the ladder, and so I feel safe. I'm within the rails. I'm not looking around it or doing anything silly like that. I'm being safe. Anyway, be brave. And sometimes being brave or courageous doesn't seem like you're doing very much. But maybe to others, you're being very courageous. All right. All right, can you see my face? Is it zoomed in all the way? Really, I want to make it look like I'm not very high. How's the picture? Is it all grainy or is it all right? Okay. So, what I'll say is, have you ever found yourself in a situation where others think you're brave, but you don't think you are, and then you just zoom out all the way? So when you zoom out all the way, do you see all the way to the floor? Okay. Do I look tiny? Okay, that's what I want. All right, so zoom back in.